Alright guys, so the first thing we do when we start a 48-point checklist is this right here. So I'm going to be working on let me go find out what year this is. I'm not quite sure yet. So this is a 2005 Yamaha Vstar 650, and this is exactly how we got the bike. So we are doing a 48-point checklist on this bike before we offer it for sale. And one of the first things we do is, as long as the bike is in running, working condition, we start it up, let it run for a while, listen for any strange noises, go through, check, make sure that all the electronics work. So things like the turn signals, making sure they function, making sure the brake lights work. Anything you would do on a basic check before you start riding a bike. We make sure all that stuff works before we set off on its first voyage under our care. But I've had this thing running and idling for a while now, and everything sounds good on it. It revs up nice. So that sounds good there. It idles nice and smoothly. So as far as the checks are concerned there, everything's checking out nicely. So after I've done that and I make sure that everything is, where it should be, I aired up the tires already. I made sure that they're set at the correct pressure. I made sure that the brake pads, have good material on them. And I make sure that, the brakes are working when I apply them, both front and back. Now the back has a drum brake on it, so I just make sure that it's functioning when I apply it. And it is. So everything's looking good. We're just going to hop on the bike and we're just going to take it for a quick little ride and make sure that everything else feels good. As far as the transmission, we want to make sure that there's nothing wrong inside the transmission, that the gears all engage like they should, no pop outs, no grinds, any strange noises coming from there. Same thing with the engine. We're listening for any abnormal engine noises, engine sounds, making sure that the bike revs all the way up, that the clutch doesn't have any issues, and that the bike feels solid. Because if I do feel anything out on the test ride, that's why we do it first, because before I put it on the lift, I just want to make sure I know what I'm getting into ahead of time. So my mirrors are set for me. For now, we'll see if I have to adjust them, but everything looks good there. Everything sounds good so far running. So we're just going to take this thing out for a ride and see how it performs out on the road. So pulling out onto the road, clutch feels nice and smooth. It engages solidly. And so far the bike accelerates just like it's supposed to. I apply the throttle. It revs up just fine, no hesitations. I'm in high gear now, and every gear up to this point has felt good, solid. It doesn't have any issues maintaining speed. It's not jerky at all. So that feels good there. The carburation, this is a carbureted bike, so carburation feels good. It doesn't need any adjustment at this point. So we're just going on our short test drive loop. About 5 or 6 mile ride here. brakes work well. They're not overly touchy. They apply nicely. So they feel good there. I feel the clutch cable could use some adjustment. There's a bit of free play in there that could be dealt with. But aside from that minor adjustment there, the clutch doesn't seem to be slipping at all. And it's a good point in time here where I can downshift it a little bit, go into lower gear, and see if the clutch is slipping. So the clutch is not slipping. You know, I just want to accelerate a couple of gears there and make sure that the clutch feels good. It feels just fine. The carburation feels good up at the higher RPMs. It's not bogging or falling on its face. So that's also good to know. The handlebar, if I take my hand off here, it's not getting all shaky and all crazy. It's working good. That means that my front wheel more than likely is pretty well balanced and it's not wearing in a funny fashion to where it's affecting the steering. You know, I can pretty much put, you know, my fingertips on there and the steering is nice and straight. It's not doing anything weird. That's what I'm trying to get at there. I can't really hear if the engine is noisy, but that's just because the exhaust is so loud. So, I mean, at a minimum, I know that the engine's not louder than the exhaust. So, I guess that's good. I did have to switch it over to reserve just there. That's why my stop looked a little bit goofy. Started running on one cylinder because I needed to switch it to reserve. It does have a little bit of a break up there. Now, I don't know if that's because the fuel hasn't filled up the float bowl yet, but maybe we do have a little bit of an issue to fix. I'm not afraid of issues, so it doesn't bother me in the least. So just a little hiccup, but it seems like it's gone away now. We'll try it again at the next stop sign. I think it was just a float bowl filling up. As it's getting better the more I ride it. And now it's not there at all. We'll see if it comes back at the stoplight. But so far, it just feels like I was running out of gas there. And I had to switch it over to reserve. Luckily, the bike was not already in the reserve position, or that would have left me in a bad play. Those are the phone calls Phil doesn't like to get. Could you come get me? I ran out of gas. But seems like we're good. Okay, all clear here. See how it feels now. Feels good. I have to be conscious of how fast I'm going because I can't really see the speedo because the camera's right in my line of sight. But even at low RPMs here, now that the float bowl's full again, the bike feels good, it accelerates nice, everything's smooth. that's great news, because although I don't mind doing carburetor work, it's not something I enjoy, because I don't like smelling like gasoline all day. So this one, it does feel good. That little misstep it had there when I switched it over has now gone, so we are good to go again. But overall, this bike feels good. It's just going to get the basic, look over where I don't have to do anything with the engine. I just have to change the oil, it looks like, and check the air filter. I might see the mileage, 16,000. There's a good possibility I'm going to put a fresh set of spark plugs in this one, because there's only 2 spark plugs in there, and it's just cheap insurance, guys. But it's not going to get anything crazy on this. Just some minor adjustments to get it back up in working order, and then anything else I find when I put it up on the lift, obviously, will be changed out as well. But the 48-point checklist, it's ever evolving, and it's ever growing. It's only 48-point checklist now, because it used to be the 46-point checklist before, and there's always room to add one more thing on the checklist. Like, I never used to ride the bikes ahead of time, but I found that in doing so, it saves you a lot of time and headache down the road. Because Phil, the owner, he rides all the bikes before he buys them, but there's stuff that Phil might not feel, because he's just not a mechanic, and he never claims to be one. So, just us, the mechanics back here, riding them ahead of time, just gives us a better idea of what we're up against. And this one here, I don't think it's going to put up too much of a fight. It's a pretty solid bike, and just got to do our basic 48-point check to this one. So that's the ride portion of the video, guys. Maybe we'll do the actual overall 48-point checklist on this one, but I'm not sure what the future holds for it. I might just be fixing it right now. But that's the ride portion of our 48-point checklist, and as you saw, as you heard, this one sounds good, feels good, so it's just going to get our basic look over, and it'll be ready for you guys to buy in no time flat. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thank you so much for checking it out. As always, don't forget to leave comments below, and like and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, we'll see you in the next upload.